Let's be honest, we live in a world where everything is moving at lightning speed. Technology keeps advancing and we're constantly bombarded with information, and society keeps raising the bar on what we're supposed to achieve. It's exhausting, isn't it? And you know what it reminds me of? Hyacinth Bucket from Keeping Up Appearances, or should I say Bouquet, as she insists on pronouncing it. She is such a perfect example of this struggle. Here's someone from a middle-class working family going to extraordinary lengths to present herself as part of the upper class. Her relentless efforts to prove her social status don't just exhaust her, they take a toll on her husband Richard, and highlight how these endless pursuits can strain relationships. That's the thing. Just like Hyacinth, we often chase these external markers of success or validation, thinking they'll make us happier or more respected. But in reality, it often leaves us disconnected from ourselves and from the people who matter the most. And that's what I want to explore further. Let me ask you something. How often do you stop to think about the way you live, the way you think, and the way you feel, and the way you interact with the world around you? The truth is, many of us don't even realize the deeper issues affecting us every single day. We're so busy going through the motions that we don't notice how disconnected we've become. And here's the kicker. Until we confront this disconnection, true fulfillment and peace will always remain out of reach. Think about it. Even when we achieve what society deems as success, many of us still feel unfulfilled. We feel overwhelmed, and deep down, there's this nagging sense of disconnection. So what's really going on beneath all of this lies the core issue. The fact that we've lost touch with our true selves. We've become out of sync with the harmony between our physical lives and our spiritual essence. That's what I explore in Me, Myself and I. It's not just a book, it's a deep dive into the human condition, offering a roadmap to help us connect and rediscover who we really are. So today I want to unpack this problem, get to its root causes, and share with you a framework called the Absolute Intelligence Model that I introduce in the book. This model helps us move beyond disconnection and find balance, meaning, and fulfillment. Let's define the core problem. The core problem, as we've discussed, is the disconnection from the true self. Here's the thing. The biggest struggle we face isn't external, it's actually internal. It's this disconnection from who we truly are. We're constantly chasing after external success, and in doing so, we've lost touch with our inner selves. And this disconnection shows up in three main ways. Number one, inner void. You know that feeling that something's missing, even when life looks perfect on the outside. That's the void I'm talking about. Overwhelm. The constant stress and anxiety from societal pressures and the flood of information we deal with every day. And thirdly, ego dominance, when our actions are all about materialism, instant gratification, or the need to impress others. What happens when we live like this? Our mind, body, and soul stop working together as a team. Instead, they're fragmented, and instead of living authentically, we end up performing roles society expects from us, suppressing our real desires and potential. The second reason why we're struggling is because of the role of the ego. Now, the ego is a tricky thing. It's not all bad. It helps us navigate the world, but when it takes over, it turns everything into a competition. The ego makes us chase external validation instead of looking inward. It fuels floating desires, endless wants that never really satisfy us. Fear of judgment, that constant need to prove ourselves. Reactive living, when our decisions are not all about impulsive, ego-driven reactions instead of thoughtful, values-based choices. An imbalance between the physical and the spiritual, where more than just physical beings. Our existence has two dimensions, the physical and the spiritual. The physical side is all about actions, achievements, and relationships, while the spiritual connects us to the meaning and purpose. The problem is that modern life heavily leans toward the physical, leaving the spiritual neglected. And that imbalance is why so many of us feel unfulfilled. The consequences of disconnection. Emotional turmoil. When you're disconnected from your true self, your emotions don't feel stable. Anxiety, frustration, and dissatisfaction become a regular part of your life. Loss of clarity and purpose. Without that deeper connection on your spiritual essence, life starts to feel aimless. Even when you accomplish big things, they don't bring the satisfaction you hoped for. Stagnation and conflict. This disconnection leaves us stuck. Instead of growing and evolving, we're caught in the survival mode, and this often creates conflict both within ourselves and our relationship with others. Now, introducing the absolute intelligence model. So how do we address this disconnection? In Me, Myself and I introduced the absolute intelligence model, a framework that brings together 4 dimensions of intelligence to help us connect, reconnect, and realign. There's the IQ, which is the intellectual intelligence. This is what most people think of: logic, problem solving, and reasoning. Then there's EQ, emotional intelligence, understanding your emotions and connecting meaningfully with others. Number 3 is the MQ, which is the mystical intelligence. This taps into spiritual intuition and the mysteries beyond the physical. Finally, there's the AQ, which is the absolute intelligence. That's the ultimate harmony of mind, body, and soul, leading to true self-realization. This model is like a guide to help you bridge the gap between your physical and spiritual dimensions and live a more balanced, meaningful life. Here's the good news. This disconnection isn't permanent. By committing to self-awareness, intentional living, and the principles of the absolute intelligence model, you can bridge the gap between your physical and spiritual selves. It's not easy, but the rewards, inner peace, clarity, and fulfillment are absolutely worth it. That's what Me, Myself and I is all about. It's not just a book, it's a guide to rediscovering your true self and living a life that feels whole and authentic. So are you ready to take the first step?